on, NFL fans? Welcome back to another week of Deep Balls. It's an NFL Picks podcast for fieldgoals.com. I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Jackson Bevins. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing great, man.
Excellent, excellent. As always, we run through the slate of games for this weekend. Also on Thursday, we decided to go back to the Wednesday recording just because it gives people a little bit longer time to listen to it and get their picks in. Obviously, Thursday games, are always kind of a pick 'em, but we're going to go ahead and try and stick with this probably if it goes well. Last week, Jackson went 9-5. He now sits at 75-44 straight up on the year. That's in the 81st percentile worldwide. I went 10-4. I won the game that we only disagreed on one game last week, and I'm going to pull that up.
And it went to OT. I was like, once that game went to overtime, I was just like, man, he's going to get me again.
You've made some pretty ballsy picks over the year. And I feel like in terms of the ones that we disagreed on, and I feel like it's gone to overtime in every one.
Yeah. I was just today going back through, I was like, am I just imagining that I've been so lucky with overtime games? Like maybe it'll play out, but I'm literally just horrible on overtime games. I was going back through and looking at them and looking at my picks, and it's like, yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't really affect my score or anything, just kind of some bad beats so far this year.
Yeah.
But also I got, the seasons that I was finishing in the top 2%, I was getting pretty lucky in overtime games on those too. So I guess I'm just
a regression to the mean.
Yeah.
All right. So my 78-41 record sits in the 91st percentile. Right now, we've got a new. Well, I guess he's technically not the leader since it's tied at 82 right now. Maury Povich is still first place, but he got beat last week by Cubania 16Q, who got 11 picks right. So made up some ground on Maury Povich, and now they're both tied for first, 82 picks correct. So Jackson, I am 4 behind, and Jackson is 7 behind the leader right now. Shout out to Mommy Unit for getting 12 picks right last week. Palm Harbor Seahawk
killing it this week.
Yeah.
Or this
so that's
year.
Great.
Yeah.
So just run down here. I know I talked to Mommy Unit on Twitter, Regulator 2. I also talked to you on Twitter. He is 78. He also has 78 picks correct. That's in the 91st percentile. Trying to see if I recognize any other names in here in terms of people from Twitter. Can't pick anybody out, but yeah. So
Joseph Muldoon on Twitter. He's the guy who put the group together.
Right. Obviously, huge thanks to him again for that because this has been a lot of fun. Where is he? I didn't see him on here. Not gonna blow up his spot if he's not doing very well this year. Here he is. All the Muldoons. 69. Good number, Joseph.
Nice.
All right, so still 130 plus people in our group, which is pretty sweet. Thanks again for people who are following along, picking along. It kind of makes it more fun every week to look in, kind of compare how you're doing on the week. So even as the week is going on, I tend to look in there and be like, oh, am I pacing people here or what? So anyways, that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, anything to add before we get into this slate of games, Jackson?
No, but there's a few of them where I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on.
Yeah, I think this. I'm not going to say bold, but there's a few here. There are a few in here that I didn't really feel very sure about, and I picked a few upsets, I think. So this should be a pretty interesting week. Although I will say, now that I'm looking at some of the things I picked, I think the lines might have moved since I picked on Tuesday a little bit. But regardless, let's just get right into it. The Thursday night game is probably a pretty boring one. Cincinnati hosting Cleveland. Obviously, Johnny Manziel's getting the start in this one, so that'll be interesting and fun. But it looks like Cincy's probably going to move out to an 8-0 start. What do you think?
Yes, same. To the NFL's credit, they've done a really good job of making the Thursday night games be divisional matchups, and I think that adds a little bit of an extra element to it just because of familiarity and impact and all of that stuff. So I do think it's cool, but I don't know how good of a football game this will be. Cincinnati is one of the 5 best teams in the NFL. I think that they have wholeheartedly earned their 7-0 record. I don't think they've fluked their way into that. And to be a true talent 7-0 team or close to it is a pretty unusual thing. So I think that they're legit. I think that they will look legit on Thursday, especially being the home team on the short week. Just, an 11-point spread is huge. I think Cleveland will probably cover that, but I don't see them winning.
Yeah, and I alluded to it, but I picked Cincy as well. I just think, man, they're playing really well. They're at home, tons of weapons. Cleveland's kind of a wild card in the sense that they're starting Johnny Manziel. I just don't see them winning this one. I think the line pretty much tells you everything you need to know. It's 11 right now. If you're really looking for betting in that game, you might pick Cleveland to cover that, but I wouldn't even really feel that confident in that, to be totally honest. I think it's going to be probably a blowout. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be interesting, but that's probably going to be a typical boring Thursday night game. Moving down the line, this is a pretty cool game, I think, actually. Oakland at Pittsburgh. Oakland has been way better than I think anyone expected. I mean, I think early on in the year we kind of thought they'd be exciting in the sense that Derek Carr is kind of on the come up, and he looks like he's going to be really good. And then Amari Cooper is a great weapon for him. Michael Crabtree, they got some weapons. They got some pass rushers. So it's not completely surprising that they're good, but I think they're a lot better than anyone thought. And they're actually right now in the playoff race in the AFC. I think they're like the 5 seed. If it ended today. So that being said, they are in Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger is back. Le'Veon Bell is out. So these are the variables. What did you have in this one?
I would probably I buy into the Raiders. I do. I don't know that they're like really ready to threaten the top teams in the AFC. I think that the top of the AFC is so good that there's a pretty good drop off to the rest of the pack after the top 3 or 4 teams. But, Pittsburgh has been a better overall team than I thought they'd be. I thought they were just going to get by on scoring 35 points a game. That hasn't been the case. Their defense has actually had to bail out their offense a few times this year. And what we saw from Ben Roethlisberger last week, some bad interceptions, just kind of looked like speed of the game type stuff. I doubt we'll continue to see that. He had his amazing season last year and was completing like 80-something% of his passes through the first 3 games this year. I think once he's comfortable with the rhythm and timing again, we'll see that Pittsburgh offense clicking. And as much as losing Le'Veon Bell sucks, DeAngelo Williams has been awesome.
Yeah.
And in just over half a game last week, he came in and had like 115 total yards or something on maybe 13 touches. So, he's been excellent, and I don't think there's a ton of drop-off there. Martavis Bryant is back. Antonio Brown looks like Antonio Brown again with, as long as Michael Vick's not the quarterback. So all this is a long-winded way of saying I think Pittsburgh wins, but honestly, if this game was in Oakland, I'm probably taking the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, what I went with too. I picked Pittsburgh, but I think if it was in Oakland, I maybe would have swung it the other way just because, like we talked about several times now on here, I think Oakland is just really dangerous at home. So I did end up picking Pittsburgh. Pretty much agree with your assessment there. I think if, they're one of those teams, Pittsburgh, that can score a lot of points. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger looked kind of rusty last week a little bit, threw 3 picks. But that Cincinnati defense is really, really good and veteran like secondary. So I don't know if, obviously the Raiders have Woodson, Charles Woodson. Is that his name? I always get the Woodsons mixed up.
Darren and Charles?
Yeah.
No, it's Charles.
Anyhow, yeah. So they got him in the back in the secondary, but I think that's a little bit different than the Cincinnati defense, obviously. So, I went with Pittsburgh in that one. Moving down the line, we got Jacksonville at the Jets. Before last week, I would have said this is a freaking slam dunk, but the Jets kind of look weird now. Obviously, they lost to the Raiders last week. Who do you have in this one?
Well, it's in New York, and the Jags are still bad, so I have the Jets.
Didn't get cute? Yeah.
I didn't. I was a little tempted, not as much as I was by some other games in this week's slate, but It sounds like Fitzgerald Patrick is going to try and go. They are. I mean, it's just amazing how much worse they look when Geno Smith is the quarterback. I mean, honestly, that linebacker that knocked him out may have been the best thing that anyone did for that team all offseason. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible.
Sure,
It's
sure.
Fitzpatrick has shown not only how well he understands the offense and can manage it, but that he can make the necessary throws. And he takes advantage of the fact he's got two really big athletic receivers that he can throw to. Chris Ivory has developed into, one of, I really think one of the 12 or 13 best running backs in the NFL. And that is really saying something. He's been super reliable. And I look at Jacksonville and I don't see them able to put an entire game together. And I think that that's what it's going to take to win in New York. I think the defense is still good, and the offense has been one of the most efficient ones in the NFL when it's not Geno. So I do have the Jets. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jacksonville cover the 6.5. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I stuck with them.
Yeah. I mean, I what you said initially, the Jags are still bad, the Jets are at home. This was kind of I didn't really think about it all that long, to be totally honest. Don't get cute on this one. Pick the Jets. You're more than likely to get that one right. I just don't have any faith in the Jags yet. I think, they're going in the right direction, sort of, but they're still just so inconsistent and so – I mean, I say this a lot, but it's dependable. They just are not – I can't depend on them to show up, you know what I mean? So –
No, absolutely not. Well, and you look at Gus Bradley's record since he took over, and you look at it and you say, they are just not progressing. But I think the thing to keep in mind, and this may be his last year anyway, who knows? But I think that what people need to keep in mind is just how destitute of talent that team was when he went. I mean, there wasn't even. I mean, even bad teams have a few pieces you can build around, and there's just nothing there, Yeah. So now they're hoping that Bortles is something more than a poor man's Matt Stafford. They've got some really exciting wide receivers.
Yeah.
Or not Gurley, but Yeldon seems to be a capable NFL back. So the offense is showing the ability to be a good NFL offense, but the defense is still clueless. Their performance late in games has been pretty bad this year. So, it'll be interesting to see how much leash Gus Bradley is given. But I almost feel like that's going to be a really good-looking job for whoever takes over for him if he doesn't.
Yeah, totally. He's kind of set the foundation and everything.
Yeah, right. It's like he was put in charge of dinner, but there was no groceries in the cupboard. So he went out and got the groceries, and someone else will probably get to cook them.
Yeah. I picked I already told you. I picked the Jets. Let's move down the line here. We got this. To me, this one's really interesting. St. Louis at Minnesota. I have a feeling you might have picked St. Louis in this one, but I'm going to tell you first what I did. I picked St. Louis. I just think the way that Gurley is playing gives them a shot in this one for sure. And I think that the way that, what we talked about with Minnesota last week, they're just, per DVOA, they're not very strong. They are a 5-2 team so far, but I don't know if they've really done anything super impressive yet. So I went with St. Louis in this one. I think their defense is really good. I think that Aaron Donald is even still underrated in terms of the amount of disruption that he causes. I was talking to Davis, too, and Derek Stevens the other day, and I guess Derek had kind of tracked what Aaron Donald was doing and compared it to J.J. Watt and things like that. And on a per snap basis, Aaron Donald is the most disruptive player in the NFL. He's seriously unstoppable.
He's the type of player that is almost taking handoffs for the other team on some.
Exactly. I mean, I think I saw someone say that. Sooner or later, he's gonna take the handoff.
Oh, really?
From the quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He has the potential to be the best defensive player in the NFL next year, if he's not already that this year, and that is insane to think about.
Yeah, So, I mean, you're talking about two of the hottest players in the NFL right now, in Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald. And, add in the fact that Tavon Austin is kind of like a wild card. You could always strike from pretty much anywhere on the field. And, I still don't have a ton of faith in Nick Foles, but I don't know. I just went this is one of the upsets I picked this week. They're obviously on the road. They're not favored. It's not necessarily like a logic pick, but I just kind of feel like St. Louis is going to bully the Vikings in this one. What do you think?
I was really hoping you'd pick Minnesota. I thought I might be able to get a game back on you with this one this week. I feel pretty confident with the Rams pick, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings are paper tigers. I think in the 12 now, they have 12 wins in their last 24 games. So, you're looking, okay, these guys are maybe starting to turn around a little bit. Actually, 12 of their last 23. But they've only beaten one team with a winning record in that stretch. And, they've shown that they can do enough to beat bad to middling teams. But St. Louis is verging on being a good team. I really think the way they've been playing lately, ever since Gurley showed up, there is an offensive identity there that hasn't existed in a really long time.
Right.
And the things that it's doing to open up Tavon Austin is really scary. He's turning into that Percy Harvin type player that he was projected to be coming out of college. So I think that they could really finish the season strong, and I definitely think they're better than Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's like they finally have like an offensive foundation. Like, can you look back the last couple of years and like tell me what offense the St. Louis Rams ran? Like,
no, I mean,
what were they?
It was literally like try and complete 5 passes to Danny Amendola going down the field.
Yeah. So now, I mean, with Gurley, it's kind of like the Seahawks. They based their whole offense off of him. With Marshawn Lynch, there's a chance Gurley's probably, the best running back in the NFL right now, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it just tells you, like, he's set all kinds of records. He set the record for most yards in the first 4 starts of any player, I think, in NFL history. So that just kind of tells you what he's doing. I think it goes back to, like, people are comparing him to Gale Sayers and all this stuff. Like, he's destroys pursuit angles. He runs through tackles like it's nothing.
Man.
Don't try and arm tackle this guy. Like,
he's Steven Jackson with breakaway speed.
Yeah. So, and he's got good vision. He makes something out of nothing, like, pretty frequently. He's averaging the most yards per carry after contact of anyone in the NFL right now. He's the real deal. And, Minnesota's defense, their front line's pretty decent, but I just think, like, having that as their foundation is really important. And, I think they'll go out and bully the Vikings this week. So that'll be a really fun one to watch. It's too bad we picked the same team in this one. But
and along those lines, too, I mean, look at Jeff Fisher's career. The only time, really, that a Jeff Fisher coached team has had a really good top-level offense was when Eddie George was there. And Eddie George was, like, almost 400 touches a year. It was insane. And Jeff Fisher has shown that he can win that way, and I think Gurley finally gives him that guy.
Yeah. So, anyhow, that's going to be a really interesting one. That's an early slate game. That's at 10 a.m. So make sure to watch that one. I think that's probably one of the better matchups this week. Moving down the line, we have Miami at Buffalo, NFC East battle. I just don't like this game was hard for me to pick, and if you look at it, it's basically a pick 'em because they're giving Buffalo 3 points at home. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, this is the hardest game for me to pick, and because I think that these teams are both pretty not good at this point.
Yeah.
But they've each had at least 2 games that make you think, holy cow, these guys can really go out and put it on some people.
Right.
The Bills looked awesome the first 4 weeks of the season. They almost beat the Patriots when they hang 500 yards on them or whatever. And, they had thumped a couple of teams, but man, do they look out of sorts. Now, it sounds like Tyrod Taylor is going to be back, which does matter, I think, a great deal. EJ Manuel doesn't look like he's a very good NFL quarterback. But Miami has also recently shown under their new head coach that they can be really good and really complete too. And I don't even I wouldn't read that much into a loss at New England against Belichick with a rookie coach on a short week, but it was not close. It was, they weren't going to beat anybody. So, playing the way that they did. So I just don't know what to make of them. And basically, this would have been the Dolphins if EJ Manuel was starting, but it ended up being the Bills because Tyrod looks like he'll be back.
Yeah, they're getting healthy. Are they coming off their bye?
The Bills. It's a great question. I don't remember them playing last week.
Yeah, I think they're coming off their bye week. So they'll be well rested. Obviously, the Dolphins will have like 10 days of rest as well. I really like a lot of the Dolphin offensive weapons right now. I mean, Jarvis Landry is turning into like one of my favorite people to watch just because he's, he was so much like maligned about like his 4.77 40 back at the combine, and he's just proven that you don't need to be like. I mean, he's kind of like the new age like Anquan Bolden, like really, really good after the catch, like really strong runner. He's a really good punt returner. So he's a lot of fun to watch. And then they've got also, like Lamar Miller, who's been fun. They've got some good weapons on offense. So I like watching that team, but I just kind of went with the home team on this one, I think, because it is sort of just like a pick-up at this point. I think like they're like two relatively bad teams. I went with the home team on this one.
Yep, and they're without Cameron Wake too. And
that's going to be big, yeah.
And Ndamukong Suh has been pretty well neutralized all year. So it's yeah.
So moving down the line, we've got Tennessee at New Orleans. New Orleans is kind of one of those surprise teams. Last week, Drew Brees proved to everyone that he is not washed up by tying the NFL record for 7 touchdown passes. Eli Manning actually had 6, so he was on the cusp of it. That game had 13 touchdown passes in it, which was an NFL record.
14 if you count the pick 6.
That's true. So obviously, I think that kind of tells you New Orleans' offense is still potent, but their defense sucks balls. I don't have any faith in Tennessee. Obviously, they just fired Ken Wisenhunt. They seem like they're kind of in the shitter right now. Marcus Mariota will be back, but I don't know what difference it'll make. This could be one of those situations where firing the head coach actually kind of provides a spark, but I don't know if it's going to be enough in New Orleans for this. So I went with New Orleans. They're favored by 8 right now. I just think it's the safe pick. I just don't really see Tennessee kind of like pulling off this upset. What do you think?
Yeah, Saints all the way. Wisenhunt was in Arizona when Leinart was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw
when
Wisenhunt got fired from Matt Leinart?
Yeah. I didn't see exactly what he said, but what were you saying?
I was just going to see if you saw it. He said, Titans coach is fired. Now Mariota will have a chance.
Yeah.
Something to say about your old coach.
Well, I think the history there is like, I don't know if the regime before him drafted Leinart or if they drafted him, but like basically Leinart was a first-round pick, and then like Wisenhunt, for whatever reason, didn't like him at all and made him like the 3rd stringer or something like that. So I know Leinart's got like some bad feelings about him. Not that Leinart necessarily has a lot of credibility in terms of, like I'm not buying, like maybe it sounds like he's intimating like I would have been better if what Wisenhunt hadn't ruined me or something like that. I don't know if that's what he's saying, but yeah, I mean, so there was bad blood there. I think I remember hearing about that. I don't know the strong history of the Cardinals, but I know that Leinart hated that guy pretty much, which is funny. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it's enough at this point. I don't think Tennessee just doesn't stand out in area. I mean, obviously New Orleans defense isn't very good either, so that could give them a chance. But I just think with veteran, leadership of Breeze, I think in this game it's at home. They're coming off a win. I just think they're the better team right now, and so I think that's a pretty safe pick. Moving down the line, we've got Washington at New England. This is a 14-point spread right now. Obviously, New England's at home. They have Tom Brady, who is playing like he's on cheat mode, no pun intended. So yeah, I don't know. This one's easy. I picked New England. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm shocked that the line's not 20 with this one.
Can't wait to see what Kirk Cousins does in this game.
Yeah, right. I like Kirk Cousins. You have a weird thing against Kirk Cousins, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't think so. I just don't think he's that good. I mean, I wrote an article about him before last week, or before the week. I think they were on bye this week, but the week before, saying he's pretty bad, essentially. I don't have anything against him or anything, but
right.
And then he went off, and of course, you hear from people who think you're an idiot, but whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think he's a great quarterback by any stretch, but I do like him. But
you like that?
Yeah, right.
You like that?
But New England at home, I mean, they're the most no quarter, no mercy team of my lifetime. And man, I could see this one get really gross.
Yeah. They're just gonna pick them apart, I think, methodically. Yeah. Moving down the line, this is probably the other game of the week. Green Bay at Carolina. This is another 10 a.m. game. So there's two really good games at 10 a.m. If you're on the West Coast, obviously the Steelers and Raiders, and then Green Bay and I'm looking at the St. Louis, Minnesota is good too. Man, there's some good games in the morning. So yeah, Green Bay, Carolina. What do you think in this one?
This was a tough one for me. It's probably second only to my Miami and Buffalo. It's getting harder and harder to not think the Panthers are legit.
Right.
Now hard to read too much into the outcome of the game on Monday, just because they were playing in a monsoon. I mean, the field was gross. And the thing that did concern me is when they got up by a few scores is they just kind of stopped playing football.
Yeah, I saw you tweet that. That was definitely true.
It was weird. It was really strange. And, I don't remember them doing that in other games this year. But I do think that they're good. I think that they are one of the three best teams in the NFC. I do think that they've earned that, but I don't think Green Bay's as bad as Denver made them look last week. Mm-hmm. They do have the extra day to prepare. I don't see the Packers looking the way they did two weeks in a row. I do think the Packers are still the class of the NFC right now, and I think we'll see that on Sunday. But I do expect it to be a game. I mean, I think Carolina is showing that they are ready to compete with the big boys in the NFC.
Yeah, I picked the Packers also, and I laugh because this is probably one of those other ones that you could potentially make up ground on me if I pick Carolina. I got close to picking Carolina, and it is in Carolina, so that's like a factor, of course, and you kind of wonder, like, is the Packers offense broken or what's going on with that? But I don't know. You pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I don't think that the Packers are as bad as the Broncos made them look. I think when you have Aaron Rodgers, that gives you a chance in every single game against any team. He had an off night. That's very rare for him. So I think he bounces back this week, and I think I still think that Green Bay's defense is good, and I think the way that Carolina kind of struggled in the end against the Colts made me that influenced this pick for me. Like, if they would have closed that game out and just like shut out, or not shut out, but like if they just strangled the life out of the Colts rather than having it make it go to overtime and kind of being pretty listless as it kind of wound down. Mm-hmm. I probably would have went the other way with this, but I think Green Bay is still a better team overall, I still think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback, not named Tom Brady, in the world. Obviously, I don't know how you could pick who's better, really, but let's just say they're both the best quarterbacks in the world.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the thing for me. So, I mean, obviously you're picking a road team here, but they are the favorites. And yeah, that's going to be another really fun game to watch. I think that'll tell you it's going to probably have like a playoff atmosphere, because that's basically for supremacy in the NFC, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously right now Carolina's undefeated, Green Bay has a loss, but I still think this tells you kind of a lot, like who's the best, you know?
Well, and it will give the winner of this game will have the inside track to the 1 seed, because even though they'll have the same record, if Green Bay wins, Green Bay would obviously. So the winner of this game will be in the driver's seat for the NFC and control their destiny for home field advantage.
Yeah, and this has no actual statistical bearing, but Carolina's won 11 straight regular season games. You kind of wonder when they'll finally lose one. Obviously that's not statistically a sound way of looking at it.
If they don't lose to either Seattle or Green Bay, you got to really start to wonder where that loss is coming from.
Right.
They've got a fairly cakey schedule though after this one.
Yeah. Well, this will be good. Hopefully I don't know. I mean, I guess we want Green Bay to win. I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, as a Seahawks fan, the Seahawks aren't going to catch either of these teams.
Right.
So I would rather see the road to the Super Bowl go through Carolina than through Green Bay.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Moving down the line, we got Atlanta at San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick has been benched, so Blaine Gabbert is now the starter in San Francisco, and that's pretty much all you need to know. I picked Atlanta in this one. What do you think?
Yep.
I think actually, I don't remember when the rumor came down, but I think I might have picked Atlanta even before the news that Kaepernick had been benched. But yeah, we don't need to spend much time on this. Let's move on to the next one. The New York Giants at Tampa Bay. I want to hear what you have to say about this one. Who do you got?
Who do I got? I think that Tampa Bay is getting close to being, I don't think they're far away from being an average NFL team, which is saying something considering where they've been the last few years. Part of that is I think Jameis Winston is starting to figure out how to play at NFL speed. Part of it is that Doug Martin looks like a feature back again. And it's just so difficult to overstate how important a really good running back is for allowing your offense to do things. Their defense has actually been pretty good this year too. You don't see teams hanging a ton of points on them like you have in the past. But the Giants are still better. I do think they have, when they're clicking, I think they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. And I don't know that Tampa Bay has the individual defensive talent to keep the Giants under 28 in this one, and I don't see the Bucs scoring more than that. So I did go with the Giants. It's not one of my more confident picks this week, but I do think they're the better team, and I think that'll bear itself out.
All right, well, cool, because I picked Tampa Bay in this one.
Hey, we got one.
So that's good. Finally have a difference of opinion here. And again, I mean, I kind of just I didn't feel strongly about this. I think these are two bad teams, and I think, or I guess I should say, like, mediocre teams. Tampa Bay, I think, has been better than a lot of people thought they'd be, obviously. And if you look at how Jameis Winston's played over the last couple of weeks, he's actually kind of slinging it a little bit. So he's obviously got some weapons in the passing game. I don't think Vincent Jackson's going to play, but Mike Evans is going to be in there. He was kind of held at bay last week. But
honestly, that was interesting. They just basically, I mean, he had a drop, but they basically just doubled him hard all game.
Yeah.
And, beat us with all of these scrap heap guys that you got.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of went with my gut on this one. And they're obviously at home, but they are the underdogs. I'm just kind of buying on Tampa Bay right now. I guess I'm just kind of in on them. I think they are a complete collapse against Washington, away from being 5-3 right now, which is crazy to think about. So I don't know. I think actually let me double check that. I'm not sure. I'm totally right on that. What are they right now? 4-3, 3-4, 4.
Yeah, the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 3-4.
3-4. So sorry, they're one collapse away from being 4-3. But I mean, still, I just think the way they've been playing lately is exciting. I think they've got some weapons on offense. I think as long as Jameis Winston's not turning the ball over, gives them a chance, and he hasn't turned the ball over in the last 3 games. So, yeah, so that was kind of my thinking. I just think the Giants, I don't know, like, I used to have a little bit of faith in Giants. They just don't. I just can't trust them anymore. I mean, after last week, especially, like they gave up like 52 points. So obviously they can score though. So that's kind of the factor. And you know, I can definitely see why you picked them in that one. I think this is probably my least confident pick of the week. So that's another one to watch.
If you pull it off, you will make up a game on 82% of the population as it stands. So
there we go. All right, well, let's hope. Moving down the line, the Colts are hosting the Broncos. This is at 1:25 Pacific time, so this is one of the afternoon games. This could be a bloodbath. Obviously, Pep Hamilton has been fired, pretty much the scapegoat for the struggles of the whole team right now. I don't know if that's necessarily going to help at all. I don't know why they felt that it was his fault particularly, but maybe they just need to get a change in there, like fire the hitting coach, whatever. What do you think of this game, and what do you think of the firing of Pep Hamilton?
I don't know. I don't know how much of their offensive success in the past few years has been the offense that they run, or how much of it has been Andrew Luck showing that he can just ball out for 20 to 30 minutes at a time and score a ton of points at once. So I don't know. I feel like a coordinator is kind of, especially when you're still have a chance at your division, and honestly, that division winner might be 6-10 this year.
That'd be awesome.
I saw a tweet the other day that was saying all 4 AFC South coaches might get fired this year. Which is, I mean, honestly, it's definitely a chance. I don't think it'll happen. Anyway, that's a pretty big head to make roll if the goal was just to like put everyone on notice. I don't know what to make of it, other than I think the Colts are going through a very similar process that the 49ers have over the last couple of years, where they've kind of had this talent and the core and a quarterback coach relationship that you need to compete, and really looking like they were setting up to compete for a few years, but all the cracks showing behind the scenes between the owner, GM, and coach, it seems to be really, really fractured right now. And that's, it's going to be a really interesting vibe with Peyton Manning coming back to Indianapolis. This has not been a very good Peyton Manning this year at all. But it'll be interesting to see how it performs in that situation. And
Vernon Davis.
What's that?
They got Vernon Davis now.
They do have Vernon Davis now. I mean, they're going all in to win it this year, and they should. They have probably the most talented roster in the NFL right now. If that offense ever gets close to clicking, they can really start bodying some teams. This is not the matchup you want Andrew Luck in, because he's trying to fix whatever's broken with him. And you can say it's the shoulder and the ribs, and I'm sure that plays into it. But the decision-making is really bad, and I hope Hamilton didn't lose his job because Andrew Luck is overthrowing receivers by 10 yards or trying to force late throws into double coverage. Those don't seem like offensive coordinator issues. So good Andrew Luck has a very, very, very outside chance of beating this team. But good Andrew Luck is nowhere to be found right now. So I think Denver's going to win by a couple scores.
Yeah. I mean, I alluded to this. I picked Denver as well. I think when you're talking about a struggling Andrew Luck, there's questions of his health. Obviously, they kind of said he's fully healthy, which is weird. Glazer's not ever wrong, so I kind of trust that his ribs are, Jay Glazer reported that he had cracked ribs or something along those lines, shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's never wrong, so I'm trusting that. The team is behooved to not tell people about that, really, because then you got guys taking shots at the ribs and whatnot. And so, yeah, I think this is the worst team you could have that Andrew Luck go up against right now. I just think they're going to eat him alive. You know, last week he tossed 3 interceptions. He probably should have tossed about 4 or 5. You know.
Oh my goodness! I mean, he basically handed the ball to Luke Kuechly in the end zone on that last drive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically, if he would have you can't really count it if he's going to throw. You know, he threw about 3 balls that should have been picked in the last drive alone. Yes. You can't say he should have thrown 6 picks because if the one happens. But you know, I mean, he's throwing freaking ducks out there. And so when you have 3 shutdown corners like the Broncos do, that is a recipe for disaster. And I just think even in Indy, you know, they just haven't shown that they're very potent at Indy this year either. You know, you're in a dome now, so that's Peyton Manning's old stomping grounds. So I don't know. I just think all of it kind of points to Denver in this one, and it could be a blowout. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. That's going to be the fun afternoon game, I think, because the other ones, I guess the Giants and Tampa Bay could be fun too, but that'll be one to watch. Moving on to the Sunday night game. You would have told me this before the year. It probably looked like a good game. I'm not looking forward to this one at all. Philly at Dallas. Both are kind of a mess. I think we talked about this before we got recording. Who wants to win the NFC East right now? You know, it just doesn't seem like anyone is. I mean, that's just a disaster of a division right now. Obviously, with Matt Castle at quarterback for Dallas, they just kind of punchless. And I just don't really have a whole lot of faith in Philly, so I'll be interested to see who you picked in this one.
Yeah, I took the Eagles. I feel pretty confident with it.
Well, that's good.
I thought Dallas actually played a really good game against Seattle and were just undone by the fact that their offense had to be so one-dimensional. I do think they're a pretty good team, and I think Dez Bryant will have an easier time of it, and that's what, you know, than he did with Richard Sherman stalking him all over the field. And honestly, that was maybe the best game I can ever remember Richard Sherman playing.
He was all over the place.
Yeah, it was crazy, just running Dez's routes for him. I mean, Dez was playing defense on balls thrown his way as often as he was playing offense.
Right.
And I think that he'll have some more room to maneuver, even if it's against former Seahawk cornerbacks. There's definitely some soft spots there, and that's what a quarterback like Matt Castle needs. He needs to be able to trust that his guy's just going to go win a few, because he's not going to dime things up all game long like the greats do. So I think that Dallas will do more on offense. I think that they're a different defense with Greg Hardy in there. I think they're a very different defense with Greg Hardy in there. So, you know, I think Dallas will play better, but I do think the Eagles are a better team overall, certainly until Romo gets back. And I actually think they'll win this by a touchdown or so. I think their offense will be able to score. It'll be interesting to see how DeMarco Murray does in his return to Dallas. But I don't know. I think they're overall a more talented team. Their defense has actually been really good this year. Philadelphia's has. For as maligned as their corners have been, they've really dialed that in.
They've got a really good front line.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I don't know. The number 3 defense by DVOA, and I don't see Matt Castle beating the number 3 defense.
They're the number 3 defense by DVOA. I didn't know it. I had no idea. I knew they were kind of good, and I really like their front line. Fletcher Cox is one of the more underrated players in the NFL, probably all-pro talent. You know, got a couple other guys in that defense on the front line that are really good. So that's going to that might neutralize Dallas running backs a little bit. So that could be pretty interesting to see how that happens. And obviously, like you said, if you make Dallas go one-dimensional on passing game, that's going to be ugly. So I picked the Eagles as well. The matchup for, you know, if they make Byron Maxwell follow Dez Bryant around, he did okay on him last year for the Seahawks, you know, before he got hurt. So that'll be interesting. But I think that's kind of the matchup to watch. I think Dez Bryant will probably have a better game this week. But I just don't have much faith in the Dallas offense right now. So the main reason I went with Philly. I think the Philly's kind of a mess too, but I just think that they're the better team at this point. They're the more complete team, and so yeah, I guess it's a division matchup, so it could get interesting in a more kind of an entertaining game. But I kind of wish they would have. I don't know if they can flex games out yet, but that was one. That would be one that I would kind of hope for. But
yeah,
here we are. Speaking of that, Chicago at San Diego. Chicago, what is this? Chicago is, what are they? Where are they? 2-5. The Chargers are 2-6. El Bolo is having a career year. He is on pace. I saw this from Rand Getlin, actually. If he passes for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is actually not a very high benchmark, he'll be the fourth player to do that 4 games in a row in NFL history, which is kind of insane to think about. I went with the home team in this one, even though they don't have a very good home field advantage. San Diego just feels like they've got a lot of explosiveness and they're potent-ish on offense, but they just, for whatever reason, can't win games. Maybe their defense is terrible or what. Tell me, what are the DVOA marks for them on offense and defense?
Take a guess.
So on defense, I'm probably guessing it's in the lower third quartile, or lower third. I'll guess 24th. I don't know.
They're 29th on defense.
So they're worse on defense than I thought even. And that makes sense, obviously, why they're 1-6 or 2-6 right now. On offense, I'm going to guess 15th. I don't know.
10th.
10th. Okay, so they're a little bit better.
Yeah, they are, and I mean they're not getting blown out. They're competitive every week, but losing Keenan Allen.
That's big.
That's really big. I mean, Keenan Allen was having a Marvin Harrison type year.
Yeah. And he was on pace for the record, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think he was pacing at coming out, through 7 games, he had more catches than anyone in NFL history.
Single season catch record, yeah.
Yeah, he was pacing 140-some catches. So that's going to be hard to duplicate. And, do you see their thing, how they have something like -3 punt return yards on the season?
Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, they can't do it.
They have no special teams.
Defense or their special teams can do anything to help them out. And they've got this really good kicker that won't miss, and they're still 29th in DVOA on special teams. It shows how bad they are at doing anything outside of playing offense.
Yeah. I didn't expect their defense to be this bad. I didn't think they would be good by any means, but I don't know. It's just kind of odd. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, it's too bad because Keenan Allen and Antonio Gates out there at the same time with Phillip Rivers. Those are 2 guys that he completely trusts. And he's such a gunslinger in terms of he'll throw it even if you're covered up. He'll throw it even before you get open. So it's that's a fun trio to watch. But now that Keenan Allen's out, it could change the dynamic quite a bit.
I just love that it's him versus Cutler again.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see good. We'll get to see some good replays of their little trash talking thing.
There aren't 2 quarterbacks who deserve each other more than those 2.
You know what? Honestly, I always talk about how much I like Phillip Rivers, but I like Jay Cutler a lot too.
I do too. Jay Cutler is my guilty pleasure in the NFL.
Totally.
He's
the pizza rolls of the NFL.
He's the what?
He's the pizza rolls of the NFL. Pizza rolls are my guilty pleasure.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's fair. I love him because he quarterbacks like he truly does not give a fuck. Like he's made it. He became a millionaire quarterback with a celebrity wife in the 2nd biggest city in the country, doing it his way, and he's just gonna,
Yeah.
And you've heard me say it 1,000 times, but I care a lot less what you are as I do how much you own it. And Jay Cutler just owns being Jay Cutler.
I love that.
I do respect him for that. And when Alshon Jeffrey is there, they're really one of the better combinations in the NFL. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's numbers since he's come back are just gargantuan, like Julio Jones level production. And I do think they're going to be hurt with Forte out.
Right.
Langford can do all of the same stuff, just and of course their offensive line is really bad and their defense is really bad. And they had that game against Minnesota last week. I mean, it was crazy the completions they were giving up down the stretch. Like guys being in the right position, just not making the play on the ball, like ending there and letting receivers cut in front of them and stuff. I mean, it was really ugly to watch. So yeah, I think the Chargers win at quote unquote home. It's really sad to see what's happening. They're getting outdrawn in their own stadium. If this is their last hurrah in San Diego, it's really a tough way to go out. But I do think they win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Chargers too. I don't know if I mentioned that already or not, but just going back to Jay Cutler, I love that. I love that sort of attitude. Like, I don't care what you are. I care more about how much you own it. Like, Jay Cutler will never apologize for who he is. Right. You know what I mean? If anything, like, he is like thumbing his nose at you and like saying like, just like he drives like this like raper van. Like, he never shaves. He's just he is the real life version of Beanie in Old School when he's doing the Iron Cross with a cigarette in his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, I freaking love that guy. And he's now run over people into the end zone on at least 2 occasions this year.
Yeah,
like,
he's a big dude.
Putting his shoulder down. And like, whatever. So I think I like Cutler too, just because like he doesn't seem like he would be a good athlete, but he's a really good athlete. Like, you go back to like his high school days, he's like fucking dunking on people and like just ridiculously good like athlete growing up and coming out. And
well, it's hard to go to Vanderbilt and end up the number 11 overall pick or whatever he was, being a great athlete. Like even a good statue quarterback isn't getting taken that way unless you can do some other things.
Yeah, it seems like he's always been on bad teams. Like, he's always like. I don't know if necessarily it's his fault. I don't think he's an elite quarterback by any means, but he's always kind of like the fall guy for like being on a really terrible team. Like, it didn't in Vanderbilt, wasn't his team like really terrible? Like, he was the only good player on the team, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about how many guys have really had like career years with Jay Cutler as their quarterback. I mean, Brandon Lloyd led the NFL in receiving yards when he played in Denver with Jay Cutler, and Brandon Marshall, had his best seasons there, and then kind of dipped for a while, and then when he reunited with him in Chicago, he was back to being a top 10 wide receiver again. I mean, Jay Cutler is one of the talents a really good quarterback needs to have is to be able to bring out the best in his receivers, not counting on his receivers to bring out the best in him. Mm-hmm. And I think that Cutler's done that everywhere he goes. I think that he knows how to throw to receivers who know how to catch, if that makes sense. Brandon Marshall doesn't, Alshon Jeffrey, they don't leave a lot of guys in the dust, but they can get position, and he knows how to throw to guys who are getting position, and that's a really valuable talent. So all that is to say, I really like Jay Cutler in the most Jay Cutler way that he can be liked.
Yeah.
But I'm still picking the Chargers.
Yeah, same here. That was a fun little Jay Cutler aside. You'd think we'd be talking about Phillip Rivers, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this game, actually. Kind of joked about how it was a shitty game, and it is a shitty matchup, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch it, just because I don't get the occasion to watch Jay Cutler and Phillip Rivers all that much, just because their teams are bad right now. So it's going to be fun. Did you have any? So I guess first to recap, we only have one difference of opinion this week, and that would be the what game is it? The New York Giants Tampa Bay game. Jackson picked the Giants. I picked the Bucks. Otherwise, we pretty much agreed on everything.
Yeah, I was surprised by that this week. I thought we'd have 2 or 3.
Yeah, same here. Actually, when I was going through and picking, I thought we would too. But lo and behold, great minds think alike, I guess. What do you have for the against the spread stuff?
The against the spread picks this year have kind of been my saving grace. It's being in the 81st percentile is okay, but definitely not what I've been aiming for, but against the spread, we've been doing really well. And so the ones I have this week, I do think Cleveland covers the 11-point deficit at Cincinnati. I think New England covers their 2-touchdown spread at home against Washington.
Cool.
And then, the other one is a natural cover. I do have St. Louis beating Minnesota. So if that happens, they would automatically cover the 2.5 points Minnesota is favored by. So those are my 3 for the week.
Nice. All righty. Well, that is another episode of Deep Balls. Make sure to follow us on or go ahead and subscribe on iTunes if you haven't already. Obviously, we've got a couple other podcasts from fieldgoals.com. We've got 3000 NFL Mock Draft. That's Kenneth Arthur and Rob Staten. That's a great combo right there. They talk about college football and the NFL draft during the season. Obviously, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Make sure you go and follow that. Subscribe on iTunes. You can also find it on Field Goals. And then Real in the Field Goals. That's Kenneth and I. Make sure you go and look for that on iTunes as well. We got a pretty cool guest this week. I'm really looking forward to it. Won't tell you until we do it. Make sure we get him on. But it's going to be a good one this week. In the bye week, we're going to do kind of a half-year look back at how things are going and looking forward to what to expect in the second half. So, Jackson, anything to add before I sign off?
Nope. Just really hope the Giants win.
All righty. Well, go ahead and make sure you get your picks in before the game tomorrow. And we'll see you next week.